Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in strong support of H.R. 1344. In response to documented grievances my fellow service members made because of various challenges and trying experiences that they went through at airport checkpoints across the country, I introduced the Helping Heroes Fly Act to ensure that the Transportation Security Agency, working alongside with veterans advocacy organizations, develop sensible screening policies that honor and respect the service and sacrifice of our nation's injured and disabled heroes. On March 27th of this year, just a few days after this legislation was introduced, the Transportation Security Administration made an announcement of some improvements that they'd made in this area as they took steps to expedite airport screening for severely injured members of our armed forces. With these changes, individuals can presently request assistance ahead of time and move through security checkpoints without having to remove their shoes, light outerwear jackets, or hats. Taking off a jacket, while maybe a simple inconvenience for you and I, can be a very physically challenging task for someone who, for example, has lost the use of an arm. While this announcement was a good step, it didn't go nearly far enough, as there are still more improvements that need to be made. As I've spoken with wounded warriors and listened to their experiences, I've heard stories that have been varied and included things like having to take off a prosthetic leg, putting the leg through the X-ray machine, and then having to balance on one leg, going through the full body scan without help from anyone. This is unacceptable. Severely injured and disabled active duty and veterans both experience widely varied screening protocols among different airports and even among screeners in the same airport. This makes it very hard for a wounded warrior to anticipate and prepare what will be required of them to make sure that they are ready physically and mentally. Again, this may not seem like much to us, but to someone, a trained and hardened warrior, learning to adjust to these severe injuries can sometimes be difficult and can be the difference between a smooth and dignified screening experience or one that is filled with frustration, shame, and pain for the injured service member and delays for all people waiting in that screening line. Another issue that's frequently come up has been privacy. Veterans have shared with me their own experiences of having to take off prosthetics despite TSA guidance that it's not necessary. And in the instances where extra screening of these prosthetics is necessary, it's been done in public view, even when clothing needs to be removed. No one should be required to remove their shirt or pants in public, nor should scans of sensitive or private areas be viewed by other airline passengers. Again, this has been already a humiliating, shameful experience for some veterans when there's absolutely no requirement or necessity for it. The Disabled American Veterans have spoken in strong support of this legislation, stating at some airports our amputee members receive relaxed screening, while at others these screenings are horrific. Perhaps it's TSA's purpose to make screenings unpredictable. Some screenings have required these amputees expose their prosthesis when they lack the ability to reposition their clothing, and TSA agents are not allowed to help them, nor do they allow spouses or traveling companions to enter search areas to assist them. So our objective with this legislation is to ensure consistent treatment by screeners, greater attention to privacy concerns, and consulting with these advocacy organizations who speak for our wounded warriors and make sure that they have a voice in the process. This bill before us today, the Helping Heroes Fly Act, achieves these improvements by requiring TSA take into account the privacy of the individual being screened. It also mandates training of screening officers on the expedited protocols to make sure that no matter where you travel, no matter what city you're in, you will have consistent screening procedures so you know what to expect. TSA is also required to consult with these advocacy organizations to make sure that as these changes are implemented, that the unique needs of our wounded warriors are implemented to the best of its ability. To ensure these changes over the long term, this legislation requires regular reporting to Congress, as well as maintenance of the TSA's operations center that these wounded warriors and veterans can contact for assistance as they prepare to travel. Mr. Speaker, as you well know, members of our U.S. Armed Forces are entrusted to protect the security of our country with their lives. By definition, these individuals pose very little risk to aviation security and should be consistently screened in a manner befitting and honoring their service and sacrifice. So I urge my colleagues to ensure our nation's wounded warriors are treated respectfully and urge them to vote yes in support of H.R. 1344. I reserve the